We are live. Hello, happy Sunday. If you're joining us, welcome to another episode of the House of Czech Girls live show. Happy Sunday. As you start joining in and trickling in, let's go ahead and share the video on our personal platforms.
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Always a pleasure. Yeah, I'm just getting connected to share as well.
Okay, I see we have one person watching. Thank you for joining us. Happy Sunday. Please, if you join us, kindly share the video so that we could reach a wider audience. Happy Sunday. Thank you all for joining. Have you been able to share eyes?
Sharing right now.
Thanks for joining. We have 3 people watching us at the moment. Thank you all so much for joining. We appreciate you. We appreciate your time. Please kindly share the video so that we can reach a wider audience today. And again, welcome to the House of Czech Girls live show. I'm also trying to share and it's taking a minute. Probably just start and I'll share in the course of the show. So thanks again for joining us. I'm your girl Solange Soso Babes, and we have Ice on the other side of the mic. And today we're here to talk to you, to share our thoughts, to have a conversation on peer pressure. Again, just like we do every Sunday, we come and we share our thoughts, give our insights on different topics and how they impact us on this whole journey of life. So today, the topic we picked to talk about is peer pressure. And we want to look at peer pressure from different dimensions, how we have grown through it, how we are living through it, and how, with your own input as well, how can we do more in avoiding the negative sides of peer pressure. So again, I'm going to hand the mic over to Ice to please start by telling us what is peer pressure is.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. It's always a pleasure to come be with you every Sunday. So today, as Solange mentioned, we're talking about peer pressure. And according to the dictionary, the Oxford Dictionary, peer pressure is a direct or indirect influence on peers, that is, members of social groups or with similar interest, experiences, or social status. So that's the basic. It's just um, being influenced by somebody that maybe you hang around, maybe your colleagues, just those people that you have similar interest or you have the same experiences or social status.
Yep, that is right. And one interesting thing that I wanted to share today is the fact that ideally, when I heard of peer pressure before, my mind, hey, thank you so much, Ngwangwa Catherine. Thank you. I see the amazing food you post online. I follow your page and I admire the food. You make me hungry sometimes. Thanks for joining us. So again, one of the reasons we're talking about peer pressure today is I know for some time I've always imagined that peer pressure was a teen thing, right? I used to think that peer pressure only affects the younger generation, or that maybe I only experienced or suffered from peer pressure when I was younger, when I was a teenager. But the truth is, again, after having a conversation with Ice as we prepared for this show, it's like peer pressure actually goes a long way. People experience peer pressure even in their old age, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, like all the way. So it is something that stays with us, something that repeatedly comes about, no matter how old we are in life. And so that's one of the reasons we decided to talk about it today, and to see, just have open discussions, open conversations, to see what are some of the examples of this peer pressure, what are some of the examples of peer pressure we experience in our society, and maybe how can we how can we avoid the negative peer pressure, let me put it that way. So Ice, do you want to go ahead and talk to us about a little bit about the what are some of the examples of peer pressure, if you
Uh,
have any
I don't know if I should just say examples or types, because
types? Mhm.
there are different types of peer pressure, and it, first of all, it can be negative or positive. Because I know there is this notion that when we talk of peer pressure, we mostly drift towards the negative side of it, but it can be negative or positive. So there's negative and positive peer pressure, and also we have direct or indirect peer pressure. So a typical example is sometimes people asking you to do certain things directly or forcing you to do certain things directly, sometimes just by observation. So you can just observe it and say, hey, I want to do that or copy that. And there is also spoken or unspoken peer pressure, right? There is a common thing. Say, for example, common example is maybe you're a teenager and you're hanging out with this with your peers who smoke or do certain things. So I'm drifting towards the negative peer pressure here. And they say, come on, just get a cigarette. It's just one. One cigarette is not going to kill you, you know? So that's the act of saying it out. So they are pressuring you to do it indirectly, but at the same time, they're not taking that cigarette and forcing you to smoke it or what. So those are some of the different types, but I'm really big on the positive and the negative peer pressure. Those.
Yeah, and I see Ngwa Catherine, he put in the comment, how can someone know he or she is under peer pressure? And yeah, so how can you know? If you ask me this question, I'll say sometimes it can be really tough to tell, because again, in as much as we know that peer pressure is, again, especially the negative one, most of the time when we hear of peer pressure, the most thing that what comes to our mind the most is the negative one. I know ICE is big on the positive side of it, but one thing that I know for sure is the fact that when you say, hey, this one is under peer pressure, most of the times it's the negative side of peer pressure. So how can you even know that you are under peer pressure? Sometimes it's you just stepping back and thinking about it and saying, hey, is this what I really want to do? Or for the example that I just gave, like, hey, you're probably hanging out with your buddies, and naturally, or you're not somebody that would generally just sit and think of, again, we're just using cigarette as an example, right? You're probably somebody who will not even think of smoking a cigarette, but because you're hanging out with your other friends that they derive pleasure from that, you tend to do it. If you realize that you're not deriving any pleasure, if you're on your own and you never really feel like you want to do it, that is a sign that you're being pressured by them. So you only do it when you're hanging out with them, but when you're by yourself, you don't feel that urge to go buy a cigarette. That's already a sign that should tell you that, hey, you know what? You're doing this thing not because you want to do it, but because whenever you hang out with this group of buddies, you people do it. So that is to me, Ngwa, that is actually one of the ways that I can tell when I'm doing something not because I want to do it, but because other people around me are doing it. So that is how I easily sort out all those kinds of things that I might be doing in my life. Yes, Isaac, do you have anything to add on that?
Oh, yeah, of course, you've said it all. It's about, I know finding your voice under pressure can be hard. It's really hard. But then knowing your moral code is the basic that you need to start with. That's where you have to start. What is my moral code? What are some of those things that I will not do? Because you know that moral code, anything that goes against that, you know that, hey, you're stepping out of that boundary. So it's about knowing who you are first, knowing the principles that you stand by or your values. Then you measure. You can know if it's peer pressure when you have that base, that foundation first. We have that baseline. What are you comparing this pressure to? What is my baseline? What's my moral code? What are my values? Are these aspects that I'm getting to, are they against my moral values or my moral code? But through this, it is hard to find your voice under pressure.
Yep, I agree. Thank you so much. Thanks to all those who have joined. We appreciate you. Thank you, Bernice, for joining. We appreciate you. And again, I see Gwangwa talks of can parents push one another? Of course, anybody, again, when you say can parents push one under peer pressure, anybody can. The society itself can really put pressure on you. So again, even though we say peer pressure, we know that peer here means your people, right? The people of your around the same age group. But at the same time, I don't like to shift the whole idea of parents away, because yes, they have their own kind of pressure that they put us on us, their children, as well as us children put pressure on the kids we have born, right? So I would say that yes, on both sides they do. That's what I think. On Ice, what do you think about that? Like, do you think that
Yes, it says peer pressure, and the peer here, it can be, as I mentioned, people, members of a social group. A family is a social setting, which means your family influencing you to do a certain kind of thing or something is pressure, if especially if you don't want it. So, and also members of similar interest. So they must not be your age group, but social group or social interest, or social status. That's another thing. So I feel like parenting or parents or family in general has a huge place when it comes to putting you under different
pressure?
pressures or pressure. Sorry.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. Again, growing up, one of the things that, again, when I look at it, again, I'm sure that almost if you're listening to this, you probably have your own stories of how you experience peer pressure, sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly. But again, the truth is, we probably have come across this as we grow up. Again, there must have been many more examples when I was younger. But one thing for sure that always stands out to me is when I finished school. And again, just like every other story, we go to school just like every other life cycle of a typical Cameroonian child, typical African child, or just another typical human being, right? We are born, we grow up, we go to school. You want to get out of school and you get a job. You want to get married. You want to buy a house, buy a good car, bring up your children. That is a kind of life cycle. When we talk of living, that is the way we are looking at life. That is how we are hoping that our lives will be. And sometimes things don't really turn out this way. Things don't necessarily follow that particular route. It doesn't go step by step as we have probably dreamt of, or how we are hoping it will get things changed. And so, personally, for me, one of my worst, my down periods in life was when I had to stop school. Right, the pressure was huge. I will not lie to you. Facebook, I personally shut down Facebook for some time, because when I came onto Facebook, all I saw were my successful friends. Even the ones that were probably struggling, or even in a worse place than I was, I could not even see them. All I was able to see on Facebook in the 2014s were just people who were succeeding. This one's husband just bought her a new car. This boy, this classmate of mine just got married and he just bought a house. This one just got a new job. That is all what I saw on Facebook at that time in my life. Right? The pressure was huge. And this is me after I have gone to school for so many years, and I see myself having to start back on a clean slate, having to regress and say, hey, you know what? You need to take another step. You need to change your steps in life. So it was me like going back about 7 to 8 years of my life and beginning all over. Then I see everybody succeeding, right? I see everybody. This one comes and put a ring. This one comes and put a car. This one brandishes their husband. Oh man, I was almost getting depressed. So this is me letting myself being pressured by the people around me, by my friends. These are even people who probably did not even know where I was in life. But I let the things that they put on social media pressure me, make me feel like, hey, you know what? You are not making it, you're failing. And that actually led me into shutting down social media for a while, for a minute. I had to take a break and kind of rethink, re-strategize, then I come back. So I am just as our dear listener mentioned, how do you identify these things, right? For me, I noticed that I was not being excited about people's good things. It kind of, instead of hitting me and saying that, hey, wow, congratulations, you're great, it kind of hit me and said, oh, Solange, you're failing. So I was not looking at the good side of it. I was looking at the side that I was not catching up. And this is me now looking at what other people around me are doing and measuring myself against that which is wrong. So that was me being pressured. So again, each time as we grow up in life, we are experiencing these things. How we handle them and how we kind of control the impact it has on us is very important. Ice, come on. I see Ngwangwa says, how can we handle peer pressure from yeah, you see, that's just an example I just gave you. Peer pressure from Facebook. This is not even in current times when Facebook has actually gone crazy, right? I was being pressured on Facebook in 2014. That was when, yeah, Facebook was there, but it was not as crazy as it is now. But the pressure was crazy on me. You will not even understand. But personally, what I did then was that I took time off Facebook. If I feel like that today, okay, is this a question that you probably want to give your own thought? But for me, today, if I feel like something I see something on social media, on Facebook I have had a mentality shift, right? I have come to realize in life. So the way I thought when I was in 2014 is not the same way I think today. Today, I've come to understand that a lot of things that are on social media are fake. There are a lot of people who put things on social media who have just acted up things and put on social media just to intimidate or to lure you. Not everything you see on social media is authentic. And so that is the kind of mind I come to with social media. I try not to let Facebook determine how I feel, Ngwangwa, if that answers your question.
Well, I'm going to come in at this point, just to respond to what she said. And I want to give her a typical example. If something, we look into your life right now, what do you show people? When you take pictures on your phone, which pictures do you send out? Which pictures do you put on your status? Which pictures do you put on your Facebook page? The best pictures. People tell their best stories. And people, when you see people coming out with bad stories on the social media, most of the time there are situations where they're actually asking for help when they can't handle anymore. So social media should never pressure you on anything, because most of the time people just portray what is good, and the bad part or whatever they're going through, they'll never bring it. And social media is also like an addiction. If I don't get there and I put something there, I don't feel good about myself. It's an addiction to feel good. Let me go put this on social media so I can get likes, I can get comments, people can tell me how beautiful I look. People can tell me how nicely dressed I look. Come on. You are already beautiful. You have to know that. You are already handsome. You got all those things with you. Don't let another person tell you that. So, because we're always waiting for outside motivation, we don't know how to motivate ourselves, appreciate ourselves, console ourselves, love ourselves, which is very important. Take care of ourselves. We allow the pressures from the outside world to come to us, and pressures from our friends, from our social groups, our colleagues, our classmates, and all that. No, don't let it happen, because most of the time they show you what they want you to see. Okay. I know that because part of it because I'm a photographer, and I always tell people that I do it sometimes. I put my best pictures out there because
Who
that's
doesn't?
what I sell. That is my business, to sell flashy life, to sell things that are good, to sell anything that looks good. It is how I make my side income. So I know that firsthand. People come and they have to change, they have to make up and take those pictures. We work on them, we'll edit them, we'll filter them, and they put it, and you feel, oh wow, this person has the best life. Hell no, they don't.
Yeah, again, because we just come to look for validation, right? Again, if you're looking for validation, you put the best things out there. Hey, Ju, thank you so much for joining. And for all who have joined us, we appreciate you. So, Ju says it's very important to know your journey and stay on your lane. Someone will always be doing better than us. Of course, that is true, right? There's always going to be someone doing better than you. And just as the example I gave, I never saw the people that were doing worse than I was doing at that time. I only focused on the ones that were doing better than me, and that actually made me feel bad about myself. Had it been I look back below the ladder, I'll definitely see these other people who are probably struggling more, and I will appreciate where I was in life at that time. And thank you so much. Hi, Robbie Rabba. I
Hi, my
see you.
Robert.
Okay. Hi, Haley. Thank you for joining. And I also see Jill says one funny thing is we don't even realize that we are doing better than others too. Stay contented. You might be comparing your backstage moments with someone's stage moments. Oh my God, Jill, you nailed it. Yep, that is true. That is very true. The moment I think I'm low, that somebody's high, then you're comparing two different things, two opposite things. That is really true. So again, we know that with the whole peer pressure thing, it's very common. It is getting more and more. Growing up as kids, I know that my mom used to say something, or my parents would say something like, "Show me your friends, and I will tell you who you are." To me, all of these things are kind of geared together, right? Even though growing up, I tend to disagree. I disagreed a lot with my mom on that. I tried to tell her that my friends are not necessarily me. We might hang out, but we don't do the same things. That was one of our argument points when I was growing up. But again, we've all grown up. Today, the audience we're talking to are adults, right? As adults, eyes, if you want to just bring in a little bit, I think that we had the example of cigarette and stuff. That is more of a teenage kind of peer pressure kind of thing, right? Today, as adults, growing up, whether in the diaspora or back home, wherever we find ourselves, can you think of any examples of peer pressure or any instances? I've heard stories, gone across mine, that you think that as adults people face?
Of course. And first of all, why adolescents do go a lot through that is because they are in a stage where they've not been able to like create a baseline, a moral code for themselves, set values and principles for themselves. So they just go with the flow, which I hate that word so much. Let's just go with the flow because I always like to know where I'm going to. But as adults, it's unfortunate that due to some circumstances, due to some backgrounds, due to some life experiences, people still grow and get in their 30s without setting that moral code for themselves. Like these are my values, these are the principles that I'm going to stand by. And most of the time people go through a tough time before they are able to set those boundaries, set those moral code or those moral values. So as adults, very common with the most common one I can think of is marriage.
Oh,
It's marriage. And for somebody like me who is unmarried and my age group, and most of my friends on my age group, they're married. My mates are married, and some are single, right? And what we get is, hey, because all my friends are getting married, I want to get married, even to the wrong person. And that is happening a lot. in our community, in our society in general. It's a universal pressure that when you get to a certain age, you start thinking, which of course is natural because of the biological clock, as they say, which is natural that you have to start thinking about it. But at the same time, most people have gotten into marriages that are not for them, and they try to find a way to step out of it. I watched a show where Esther Perel, a writer, one of those, a Belgian writer, mentioned that if she was in a conference and the room was dark, and she said, if you're married and you want to get out of it, put your hand up. The number of hands that went up was surprising, because so many people, there are so many people out here who are trying to get married, and there are so many people who are trying to get out of it as well. So that's a common adult peer pressure that people are facing. Jobs, and it's out of competition. Another big thing that causes a lot of peer pressure is competition. I want to look cool. I have this girl clique or this boy band. I want to look cool together. So I want to fit in. Don't fit in. Have you fitted yourself into yourself? Have you fitted yourself into your soul to know who you are? Why are you trying to fit into another person's spirit or another person's spirit? So it's about competition. It's about fitting it. It's about the hype, the vibe, all these words that don't have meaning. It's about we're being woke, but people don't. People just send words out there, and they're like, "Hey, let's vibe together." What's the meaning of that? Let's just flow together. What does that really mean? So
What is flow?
what is flow? Let's just take a, like somebody said, oh,
Oh,
let's go on a ride. Like, what is a destination? Where are we going to? Ask those questions. Do you get into a car and just take a ride? No, you want to know where you're heading to. As Julian mentioned, you need to stay on your path and set a goal for yourself and work to achieve that goal. Because sometimes we create vision boards and say, hey, in 2020 or 2030, I want to have a mansion. But what we fail to put on our vision boards are the difficulties that we're going to face trying to build that mansion. So there are things like that.
yeah, that is amazing. Like you get eyes, you said that in a way that I don't even have anything. You removed all the words from my mouth. I don't even have anything else to add. But yes, of course, everything you've said will definitely be what I was thinking, the same way I was thinking, the kind of pressures that we have. And we find a lot of adults, like, I can remember I was talking to a big man, right? An old man, somebody in his mid 40s, getting close to the 50s. And you can still hear traces of they're still trying to catch up, to meet up. And I'm asking, hey, I used to think that this peer pressure thing, oh, you see, that man just bought this. It was about cars. This was actually about home buying. It was about home buying and a car. That I think he's in a clique of friends. They have this friend group or whatever, and somebody had just upgraded their houses. They moved from an apartment and they decided to buy like a bigger house, and he is so thinking about it and calculating his budget. I'm like, hey man, where you live now, what is it? It's a house, but it's not, it's just a 3 bedroom house. But you see, my friends are buying mansions. I'm here. And I'm thinking, this man is above 45 and he's being pressured by his friends because the friends have now left the 3 bedroom house. It's not like they were living in studios, they all have houses, but somebody just bought a new house and it made him sweat so much. Like, this is somebody I just got to know, and just talking to him, I was like, wow, I'm surprised that like, this is a big man. You know what we call a big man, right? A big man
Yeah,
that
it
has money is being pressured by another man because the other man's house is bigger. And I'm like, is this really something that should be bothering an adult getting close to these 50s? And I was like, okay, this is odd. But
that
and this is one
that
of the things that drove.
that's very competition. So competition puts you under a lot of pressure, and people turn to do the things that they are not supposed to do. And there's a lot of peer pressure amongst adults, a lot of it, what you own. And that's why I always say, don't try to fit in another person's story, because you don't know. Somebody might be investing in a house. Like people go out, I just built this mansion, or this real. I'm into real estate. I'm trying to build, but another person might be investing in their family, right? In other things that are as important to them as the mansion you're investing in. So you don't have to fit in another person's story. Create your path and walk through your path, and those pressures are going to stem out. It's about competition, a lot of competition. Then the social pressure that is out here, it's just crazy. It's just really crazy.
And you wonder, where is the competition from? Why is all of this? As you said, all of this just because people, our values are different. You and I, as sisters, we don't have the same values. We don't prioritize the same things in our lives, right? Even come to us that we share blood. We don't. There are things that, a quick example is, I love the way I love cars. You don't love cars in that at the same level that I love cars, right? So if you and I were to be together, let's say we win a lottery and we both get $10 million each, I'm the kind of person that will remove a big chunk of that money and buy myself a good car. On the other side, you probably want a beautiful big house. That is not important to me. I want to drive my good car. You want to be in your good house. You get it? And you'll find people now, the tendency is, because I prioritize that, thinking of wanting to have what you have and still have what I have. So this is where that unnecessary competition comes in. Another person will take that money and they will invest in their home, their families, as you say. They will settle people in their families so that they can start diversified businesses here and there. And that is them empowering their family members to grow as well. Another person will take their money and they will do other things. They'll go ahead and buy the biggest mansion, drive the most luxurious cars in the world. But you see that it's two different things. But you ask yourself again, why are these people? You see people who make decisions like this in life, but they still turn around and feel low.
Let me
Where is this coming from?
let me it's I strongly think it's what people define success to. Like, what does success mean to you? That's a very important question to ask yourself. At what point in my life will I stand in front of the mirror and say I feel successful? And this means different things to different people. And even when you sometimes I apply for a job and I go for an interview, I was asked this question once: what does success mean to you? I was like, oh, I didn't think about that question coming to this interview. But it's very important for people to start asking themselves, what does success mean to me? At what point in my life will I look at myself and say I am successful? And get me, it's every day of your life. Because once you go through a day and you carry out the activities of that day, even if you fail or you win, it's success. Because I always say, when you fail once, you learn 10 times more. So people need to start telling themselves, like, hey, I am successful every day. As long as I live, I'm a successful person. Because once you leave, you have a chance to try again. And also, just to put a disclaimer out there, I said something. Getting up every day is successful, but not making an effort every day is failure. You need to I just want to clear that out.
Yeah, this what does success mean to you? Again, I see Vali says the point is to define your own success, right? Some find success in cars, others in houses, others in the successes of their families. So success is a very relative word. I think that has been one of my that is one of the things, one of my podcast episodes. What does success mean to you? And it just means there is somebody that is at this point, maybe by the time to them being successful. Valley, you excluded something, marriage. I had a friend that told me that they have made it in life because they said, yes, marriage is success to some people,
Yeah.
right? Some people know that, hey, the moment they get married, again, especially to the mindset that, hey, you get married for someone to take care of you. They know that the moment they have gotten married to that man that has a job, that they have made it in life. And to them, they are
It's huge.
satisfied,
Huge.
right? they are satisfied, they have made it. And I cannot blame, I don't judge anybody that feels like that, because that is what success means to them.
Yep.
Another person's success is when they buy a house, right? The moment they buy that house, they don't care whether it's how do you call it, mortgage. The moment that house is in their name, even if they are struggling to pay their mortgage or anything, that is the point for them. They have made it. They feel successful. Another person will get that marriage, get that house, drive that car, but it's still not there. You get it? That just shows that we are on different pedestals in this life. We have different things that matter to us.
Yeah.
Right. Then can you
Thanks
see
for
comments?
joining. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Wally, for joining. Julian, thanks. I see you. Share, like, and send us some stars. I think what
I
next?
see a comment from Julian.
Okay.
Also, we shouldn't over push it with the goal thingy. Okay, when to set goals for yourself, yeah. Know how much you can bear. Know your limits. Be realistic with your goals. You must not become a millionaire. Who even becomes a millionaire overnight, not Drew?
It's a process.
Ooh, it's a process. Except you go win a lottery. I actually bought a lottery ticket. I hope I win it.
As I mentioned, we write vision boards, and we build mansions and build big bank accounts on those vision boards, but we don't build the process.
Yeah.
So
Forget the process. That would take us there.
yes, that's very
You were
important.
saying you were saying something before I interrupted with
Yeah, so we got to look at how to deal with. I think we did look at it as already how to deal with pressure, but also in the comment section, tell us some of the experiences that you faced with peer pressure. Tell us some of the positive peer pressures that you've encountered, and also just mention what is the best or the worst thing that happened to you because of peer pressure.
one of the best or the worst decision you've ever made in your life because of peer pressure.
Yeah.
Not because you were ready for it, but just because someone else was doing it, or everyone else around you was doing it, and you're like, I got to do that too.
Do you think, let me put this question to you, Solange. Do you think growing up you had a lot of peer pressure from people? Just like a short answer.
Oh God, when you say short answer is because you know that I talk too much. I'm going to speak more than you want me to speak, yeah?
Technical.
I would say yes. I would say yes. I did have a lot of peer pressure growing up. Not in my earliest years, not until I got to like 15. Because I can say that in my teen years, between not even teen, like between yes, from 1 to from 5, I knew what I wanted to do. Like again, it was more important for me to go out and play and do things. It did not really matter to me a lot. So I was the kind of kid that today we are not talking, tomorrow I come to school and I greet you and I forget that we need to talk. You get it? That was the kind of person I grew up being. So that just shows you how carefree I was growing up. But truth be told, as I turned 15 and getting older, all the way till I will say yes, I have experienced a ton, like a ton of peer pressure. And the one that burns my head, that almost got me burnt down at one point, was marriage. It was crazy until I had a mental shift and said, yes, it is okay to not be married. Right. So that
It's
is the one
okay
that was my,
to not be
that was,
your age, because it's that age factor that comes in a lot of the time, where especially I'm just adding that it might not be
yeah.
I'm just
No,
putting
of course, it's because of age, right? I think that is again, as you call it, how do you call it again? The what clock? The
the
biological clock?
mention that.
Yes. Yeah. So again, so to me, I've had a ton, but my biggest one that actually hit me in the face and actually made me almost make decisions that probably would have regretted if I did was the peer pressure that came from my married peers.
Yeah, just to kind of feel back there, right there, just to list my own experience. I was actually thinking about it, and I was wondering, of course I've been peer pressure to do certain things, but also when I look at it and detailedly, I was just thinking about my life as a kid between 5 to like 20. I was most of the time a loner in my games because I remember that most of the time I was doing the things that my friends were not interested in. I love sports till today. I love to play sports, and I'll be at the basketball. The friends that I play soccer with were not at the court,
Basketball court.
at basketball court. Then when the girls that I'll hang out with, they are not interested in the things that I'm interested in. Even the time when I went and played as a second divisional soccer player, there was nobody in that group that was my age group or that even went to the same school. So most of the time, I always just took certain decisions and just drive with it. Even when it comes to like dressing, hanging out with my friends, even my friends are on this show today, they dress differently from the way I dress, and I like my style and I stick to it. Even when people say, "No, Ice, this looks good on you. This looks better on you than this." Hell no, I'm putting on what I want to put on. So that pressure, I had a lot of. I remember one scenario where my friends pressured me to go to uh, um, a social party when mom had said no. Yes, in socials, when we had socials in school.
Socials in lycée. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I came back and I
So,
was blocked. I was beaten. So that's one scenario that I really remember. But most of the time, I did things that people my age, my peers, were never interested in. Not at all.
yeah, and again, it just happens. And I bet that our experiences growing up kind of really need to guide us. Ju said that parents are unaware of how social media is affecting kids and all of that. I look at it more like I look at how I got pressure, the kinds of things that I did not because I wanted to do, but because I saw my friends doing it. And I'm thinking of it today as a mom, right? How can I how can I do better? How can I guide my kid to not do things in the same way? Right. When I went to university, I wasn't dating. Then I saw all the people I was hanging out with had their boyfriends and stuff, considering that my mates went to university 1 year before me. So I was 1 year behind them when I repeated the advanced level. So I was behind them, and you go, everybody is already. And I just found myself hanging out with a guy that was a friend to my friend's boyfriend. Somebody that if you had to tell me to pick my boyfriend, I would never even pick, right? But just because they were fond of hanging out, I started hanging out with this guy too. Not because he was my kind of boy. Again, no disrespect, but he was not my kind of man. He was not my kind of boy. But I just went with the flow, as I said, because the girl, he was part of the crew of the girls I was hanging out with. So again, we see that with this kind of mentality, because I experienced this kind of thing, I bet that as a mom today, I'll definitely have those kind of chats with my baby. Again, we can only try and support them as they grow up, but they'll experience their own peer pressure as kids too. I see a comment. Oh, Vali says peer pressure to read science in junior high. Intelligent ones read science, costing me 3 years of my life and no regrets. I actually remember that. I know you actually went back, you turned back your clock, your educational clock, to do
Yeah,
something else in at some point in your life. So yeah, so intelligent people read science. That is a myth
that's a
in Cameroon. Mhm.
that's a myth in Cameroon.
Yeah.
I always, when I talk about science and how, I just have to mention this, one of my favorite writers, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, where she went to medical school in Nigeria but came to the US and did history. But she was the best in her class and was a great medical student. Came to the US and said, "No, this is not, I'm not going to do this," and disrespected her parents' wish and did sciences and did history. Today, she's one of the best writers in the world. So peer pressure can really divert your
Can
entire.
change.
Yeah.
Yep. Change things for you completely just because everybody is doing this. I got to do this too. Everybody. And again, it happened even in our society today with all this is Solange again, upskilling and reskilling, right? Not everything is for everybody, right? We're putting it out there. Learn a new skill. Yes, tech is our new jam. You can work remotely, you can make good money. But is it for everybody? No, it's not for everybody. So even in as much as I am one of those people, I'm one of those ambassadors that will come out and tell you, hey, you know what? If learn a new skill, upskill in something, pick up some. At the same time, I always try to back what I said with make sure that is something that you like and something that clicks for you. There are some people that no matter what you do, they will never make a good scrum master. Right? There are some people that no matter what you do, they will never make a good nurse. They will never make a good consultant. That's because it is not who they are. I always use the example of a scrum master because personally, at one point, I thought I could be a scrum master. Then I realized that I am terrible at this retrospective something. I don't think I can. I am more of a person that wants to be heads down and build my stuff, talk to clients and do stuff. And I even hate it when scrum masters try to check me to see if I have met my task or how long do I need to finish my task. It irritates me. So I cannot even be a very good scrum master sometimes when I look at this because of how I like to work, which is not a problem. But because sometimes we find ourselves and say, hey, everybody, yes, scrum master is good. Salesforce is awesome. Yeah, scrum master is good, but Salesforce is awesome. Yeah. Not all of us can do it. Don't do it because Solange is doing it. The positive side of it, so is if Solange is doing Scrum Salesforce and she's successful, you try it. It's okay for you to try it, but you need to be able to. Again, it feels like I'm contradicting myself, and I don't know how to put
Not
this.
addiction. It's about knowing what you want to. First of all, knowing what you don't want to do is very important.
Knowing what you can do, knowing your limits, is that
Knowing
the right way to put it?
and knowing what you don't want to do, it's very
Okay.
important. Knowing what you do not want to do is very important because
Okay.
you will not do it.
Okay, yeah, because sometimes when I talk about this, I worry. I don't want to feel like I'm saying something to this group of people, to my mentees, and then at the same time, I'm contradicting myself.
No,
But again, it
knowing
is important.
somebody comes to you and they're like, hey, I want to be a scrum master or maybe a Salesforce a consultant, and you got to ask, if you're mentoring them, you have to ask them certain questions to ensure that, hey, this is what are those things that you want out of this. What are those things, or do you just want it because of survival, which is okay. Sometimes we do certain things just to survive.
Survive, yeah.
Okay, and it's also okay to copy. It's very important to copy because there's no idea in this world that is really, really unique.
Yeah.
There's none. The thing you're trying to create, somebody thought about it. Maybe unfortunately the person did not have the resources to create that thing, or the person is just too lazy to create it, or the person did not feel passionate enough to continue with that thought. So it's okay to copy, but you want to also copy the things that you feel passionate about.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
it's just about knowing what. First of all, you need to know yourself, and it's okay sometimes not to know yourself and find yourself, and which is good. I think we're at 48. We should be
That's
rounded.
for the thing. But if we are saying that it's okay to copy, it means it still means that if let's say I'm in a clique of friends, and again I'm using the most common things or stories that I hear around. I'm in a clique of friends, and this person made their daughter's birthday party, and it was this big thing, and this is me as friend A, friend B. They cannot afford that same big thing. That is peer pressure eyes. And then
That's
they want to copy the same thing, but they don't have the means. So you find
of
people going above what they can afford because they are being pressured by society. They want their friends and the community to think that, hey, my daughter or my baby had the best 1 year birthday party, or that they go to the best, like, and
that.
it's
That is a level of, I don't want to call it stupidity, because you really know that you don't have the means and you want to afford it. How can you go and borrow money to do a first birthday party for a child? That
because America makes it
because
possible.
America makes it possible, but you also know your possibilities. You know that this is something that I'm going there because it's not because you have a meat in front of you and you know that you have gout but you eat the meat because that meat is standing right in front of you. You can be there are certain things that's why I always say you need to set a baseline. What are your values? What are those things that you stand by? You need to create that for yourself first. Know those core values. Create a moral code for yourself. These are the things that I will not do no matter what. And that's why when we talked about peer pressure, we always say, even if you feel like you're in the midst of people where they're pressuring you to do something, take some time and think about it. The moment you take a step back and really think about it, and it's something that you don't really want to do, that a normal, sane person will always come to say no. And you can, and I'm happy I just said this. It is okay to say no and learn how to say no. One of the most important skills that one needs to learn is to learn how to say no. Sometimes I say I'll try to say no once a day. Because the moment you start saying yes to everything, you even say yes to the things that are going to kill you. Yes, it's okay. When I said it's okay to copy, I'm not saying you should copy the things that are going to help you. Copy me, copy how I want to be better at certain things. Copy that I want to read more books. Copy that I want to go to the gym if that's what you find interesting. Copy that I want to improve on my career. Copy that I want to take my kids or spend time with my kids more. Copy those good things. Don't copy what you cannot afford mentally, financially, socially. Don't copy those things.
Okay, thank you. I see that we've clocked 50 minutes. We've clocked 50 minutes. So yes, let's take that again. Peer pressure is something that we all experience. I experience it now. Probably see Ice holds a nice Fenty bag. Fenty or Fendi?
Fendi.
Fendi. Thank you. A nice Fendi bag, and I'm like, oh, I want to have that bag, even though I know I cannot afford it. Hey, I see that Vali just bought himself a mansion. I cannot afford it.
You don't
But
know
again,
saving for
I
that
don't even,
back for
I
the
don't know for
house.
how long he's been saving to buy that house. And
You
I
don't.
also want to buy a house. So I see that, hey, Jude drives a Porsche Macan, and Solange has always wanted a Porsche Macan. I'm all thinking of how I'm going to get. So just letting people's lives that they have taken their time to build influence you is what we call peer pressure, and that's what we're calling on us all to try to avoid. Take time back. If you find yourself in the midst of people who you think are actually making you think too much about something that is not a priority to you, it's okay to step back. Even avoid those people for some time.
Yeah.
Take a break. Move away.
It's
If you know
okay.
that you meet with these people and they talk about, just move away for a bit. It will help you. Yeah. Ice, closing words.
So just to say thank you for everybody that is online. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the comments. Julienne, Vali, Bernice, Ngwana, Marie Claire, Bibi, all of those people, Robert, those people that I identified that were watching online. Thank you very much. As I always say, we don't take your likes, your comments, your shares, and everything on your time most important for granted. We appreciate that. We love you. And until next Sunday, have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Thank you all so much and have a blessed Sunday. And stay away from peer pressure. Encourage your loved ones to learn to love themselves, know their path, respect what they want for themselves, and not look at other people and want to be like them. Because we all have a story to tell. We all are unique in our own way. We wish you an amazing week and be good to each other. Bye-bye.